Hello, this is Doug Ware at Instant Quick, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to use the IQAppEditor to create a new IQApp that can deploy lists and content types and fields to a target site. In this demonstration I'm going to be using the FAB40 bug database template which I created previously. This is not literally the original FAB40 template. This is an IQApp which was created by converting the bug database application template using techniques very similar to the ones that I'm going to show you today. Alright, so I'm going to open up the IQAppEditor and I'm going to create a new application. So we're going to choose an action and click Create a New App, and we'll call this Bug Database and give it a nice description. And then I'll click Save, and it'll add our app. So I have a source site collection that I'm going to connect to, and this site has, like I said, the bug database already created on it. So we'll enter in the URL and the username and password. And then I'll tell it it's Office 365 and to remember me, and go ahead and connect to the site. Alright, so let's look at this. Here we have the FAB40 site. You can even see we've got the Windows SharePoint Services logo for nostalgia's sake. And this site consists of a home page and a couple of lists. We have first a bugs list, and then we have a bug categories list. The bugs list has a number of views, and this provides a lot of the functionality of the app. So we have all open bugs, and then these other ones that you can see here in the drop-down. When we create a new item, an important aspect of this is that there's a category, which is a lookup against the bug categories list. And I've gone ahead and created a couple of bug categories inside of this list. Okay, so now let's connect to a test target site collection. I need to use two sites for this. I need a target site because I'm going to be testing my deployment, and every time I do that it's going to delete the content of the target. So obviously I can't use the source of the SharePoint artifacts as the target site, because first time I did any kind of deployment I would delete all of those things that I was trying to create. Okay, so we'll connect, and now we'll take a look at the target site. And as you can see, it's just an empty SharePoint team site with nothing in it, which is what we always want when we're starting with a new project. Okay, so now I'm ready to start defining things. I'm going to open up the editor. The editor has a number of tools, but the default tools are fields, types, and lists. So since this is an existing site, my personal preference is to start with lists and work my way backwards. So we'll click the Lists tab and then the Add from Source button, and we'll wait while the app reads the list from the source site. And then select bug categories and bugs, and then close the add pane. And so let's take a look at what we've got here. First we'll look at bugs, and we can see that bugs has a content type called bug, and it tells us that the content type is not on the list. You can also see that we have a number of field options that are set, most of them being that there are fields that are only display forms. And we have a whole bunch of views, which is good because that's what we have on the source site. Now the whole time I've been adding things, it's been creating raw JSON that describes the information that the provisioning engine is going to need. So we'll go back and add this bug content type to our app, and then open it up. and the tool tells us that we have a whole bunch of fields that aren't in our app. So we're going to add each of those one at a time just by clicking on the plus button. All right, very nice. Now we'll close this tool and look at the fields. All right, so now let's take a look at bug categories. And we can see that bug categories has a field that is not in the app and it's not a site column. It gives us the option to add it, but we're not going to because this is actually part of the list itself. It was added directly there. And I can see that if we look at the settings for the bug categories list. It also tells me that there's a corresponding lookup field here called bug category, and if we jump over to that, we can see the camel for that. Now, this gives us a warning, which is true, but not something we're concerned about because the app is going to wire up the lookup list when the provisioning happens. All right, so let's be sure to save our work. And now we're going to go to the Tools pane and deploy this to the target site. So this warns me, of course, that this is going to delete everything off the target site, so I'll say yes. And we'll watch as it does its work. And it succeeded, so let's close the job status window and go back over to the target site and see what we've got. All right, very cool. We've got a bug categories list and a bugs list. And that bugs list has all of the views that we would expect it to have. And our bug categories list is here, but it doesn't have any data in it. So perhaps when we're creating our app, we want to create some lookup data. We go back over to the tools and take a look at the bug categories list. If we go to the Data tab and check Refresh List Data, it reads in the list items out of that list. So we'll save that and save the changes to our app. And now we're going to do another target deployment. Now while we wait for this to save, I'll tell you that this target deployment is actually going to fail. And that's on purpose because I want to demonstrate one last thing before we wrap this tutorial up. So we'll deploy this to the target site. And watch as it does its thing. Sure enough, it failed. So this verbose output is very nice because it tells us what all the steps were, and if we go down to the bottom we can see that while it was creating the items for bug categories, there was an exception for invalid lookup value. And the reason for this is because that lookup list has a second column in it that is a lookup against the user list, and that is not something that's supported by the tool and probably never will be because the users aren't going to be the same from site to site. So we're going to go into bug categories and go to raw JSON, and in the raw JSON view we can really fix up anything that we need to. So I'm just going to delete the attributes for that area owner's list field from the two list items. And I'll go ahead and save my work. I don't know if you saw that, but while the JSON is invalid, you can't save it. So it keeps you from making too many mistakes. All right, so let's save the app one more time. And now go back over to the tools page and deploy that sucker one more time. All right, so let's do it. And this time the work is successful. All right, excellent. So let's close it and go back and look and refresh the page. And sure enough, now our bug categories list has two categories. And if we go to bugs and add a new item, we can see that the categories are all wired up nice and neat. All right, so that's the basics of using the list content types and fields tools. In the next demo, I'll show you how to create a user interface.